I married a man with a stepchild. However, we currently have a strained relationship due to differences in parenting styles. My relationship with my stepdaughter has also deteriorated. And then an incident occurred. Suddenly, at one point, my husband and stepdaughter started ignoring me. They ignore my morning greetings, my attempts at conversation, and even when they are talking together, they don't include me in the conversation. Despite my efforts to break the situation, nothing seems to work. Feeling helpless, I overheard a terrible conversation between my husband and stepdaughter. What is this? Is this how they really think of me? I can't bear being ignored like this anymore. I've made up my mind to leave the house. Then, a few days later, something unbelievable happened with my husband. My name is Mary, and I'm 30 years old. I work as a company employee in an IT firm. My husband, Mark, who is 9 years older, and I have been married for 2 years. I got to know Mark through a friend's introduction, and we started dating. I was drawn to Mark's gentlemanly and nurturing nature. Our daughter, Natalie, is 14 years old. The three of us live together in an apartment. As you can tell from Natalie's age, she's not my biological daughter, but Mark's stepchild. He was in a previous relationship, and Natalie is the child from that relationship. Mark and his ex-wife divorced when Natalie was young. The reason for their divorce was said to be the result of their busy work schedules causing them to drift apart. Mark's ex-wife abandoned Natalie's custody and disappeared somewhere. Since then, Mark has been raising Natalie on his own. Before we got married, he told me that he was bisexual and had a child. I struggled with the idea of dating him for a while, but I decided to meet Natalie first. Natalie seemed like a modern girl, dressed in fashionable clothes, and was quite adorable.
Nice to meet you. I'm Natalie. My dad always talks about you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Mary. Likewise, I'm grateful for everything Mark has done for me.
Oh, come on. Don't be so nervous. I wanted to chat with you too.
Natalie cheerfully addressed me, sensing my nervousness. Natalie didn't seem opposed to my relationship with Mark. In fact, she seemed somewhat pleased about it.
I've always felt lonely without a mom around. I know Dad has been trying his best to raise me, but since you get along so well and are such a nice person, I would be happy if you could be my mom.
Upon hearing that, I felt the desire to become her mother. After some time, Mark proposed to me and I accepted. At first, my parents were hesitant about our marriage given the circumstances. It's natural for parents to feel that way when their child is trying to raise a child who isn't biologically related. Still, I made an effort to convince both of my parents. I earnestly wanted to become a family with Mark and Natalie, and I fought for it. Somehow, my desperate feelings must have gotten through, and my parents eventually agreed to our marriage. And so, by hook or by crook, I managed to marry Mark. The first few months of our marriage went smoothly. Natalie started calling me Mom, and Mark was kind to me. But gradually, our life became more and more unsettled. After dinner, Natalie lounges on the living room sofa without clearing her plate. Meanwhile, Mark sits beside her, watching TV and drinking alcohol. I reminded Natalie to clean up her plate. Natalie, you should clean up your plate after eating. Didn't I remind you about this the other day? Although I intended to express a reasonable opinion, Natalie glared at me with an unhappy expression.
Huh? Ugh, you're such a pain. Can't you do it, Mom?
No, you have to clean up your own plate. You're already in middle school, so you should take care of your own things properly.
Stop lecturing me about every little thing. You're so annoying.
Just because I asked her to wash the dishes, Natalie adopts a defiant attitude towards me. Feeling irritated, I ended up scolding Natalie sharply. What's with that tone? As I argued with Natalie, Mark took Natalie's side.
Hey, don't say mean things just because Natalie is a stepchild. You should handle the post-dinner cleanup yourself.
Just because she's a stepchild doesn't mean she knows everything. I'm doing this for Natalie's own good. Natalie and Mark completely leave the household chores to me. They don't even try to help voluntarily. When asked, they help, but not without grumbling. Even when I say we're family, so let's cooperate, my husband insists.
Housework is a woman's work.
While Natalie retorts,
You're so cold for a mother.
I'm also busy with work, especially when we both work. At such times, when household chores are neglected, they both invariably start accusing me of slacking off. Moreover, Mark and I have been arguing over differences in educational approach. Natalie, our 14-year-old daughter in the third year of junior high school, is facing entrance exams for high school. Despite this, Natalie doesn't study and just plays around. She's always like this.
I don't have to study desperately. It'll be fine. I can get good grades without studying much.
Indeed, Natalie has a good aptitude, so even with little study time, her school grades aren't bad. However, it's impossible to pass exams without studying, especially considering that Natalie wants to attend a private high school. It's never a bad idea to develop a habit of studying. Since it's a matter concerning her future, I've urged Natalie to study many times. However, instead of taking my concern to heart, Natalie just rebels and snaps back at me with a hurtful,
Stop nagging!
Even when I try to discuss it with Mark, he doesn't seem to listen.
She's responsible enough, so she'll be fine. Nagging like that only kills her motivation. Don't say such irresponsible things.
Once she becomes a high school student, studying will become much harder than it is now, you know? Especially if she's going to a private school, it's even more important to teach her the importance of studying.
Stop being so annoying. You're not even her real mother, so don't act like you know everything. Have you become more unpleasant since before we got married?
The issue of Natalie's education has led to numerous arguments between my husband and me, souring our relationship. On top of that, Mark has been spending less time at home lately. While he claims it's due to his busy work schedule, I can't help but wonder if he simply doesn't want to be around me. My relationship with Natalie has also become quite strained because of her rebellious attitude, which often leaves me feeling miserable. The thought of divorce crosses my mind, but I find it hard to make a decision. Given that I convinced my parents and got married, I worry about being judged if we were to divorce within just 2 years. As I grapple with these thoughts, an incident occurs. One day, when I tried to greet Natalie in the morning, something strange happened. Good morning, Natalie. Breakfast is ready, so go ahead and eat. Natalie heads to the kitchen without responding to my words. I tilt my head, wondering if my daughter simply didn't notice my greeting. However, it seems there's more to it. No matter how much I try to engage her in conversation afterward, Natalie continues to ignore me. Whether I bid her farewell as she leaves for school or greet her when she returns home, she ignores me completely. She's treating me as if I don't exist at all. Feeling troubled, I turned to Mark for advice when he returned from work. Hey, Mark, there's something I want to talk to you about regarding Natalie.
Ugh.
Huh? Mark? Wait a minute. Why aren't you responding? My husband, too, ignores me as I desperately try to engage him in conversation. Even after finishing dinner, Mark and Natalie remain silent, not saying a word, and quickly retreat to their rooms. Since then, I've been ignored by both my husband and daughter. No matter how much I try to talk to them, neither of them responds at all. Even when I try to join in Mark and Natalie's conversation, I'm the only one ignored. I took the initiative to do household chores and even tried to cook their favorite dishes to get their attention, but nothing seemed to work. As I juggled work and household chores alone, my fatigue gradually accumulated. On weekends, Mark and Natalie started going out to eat together more often, leaving me behind. And despite being a family, I felt completely left out and deeply saddened. How did things end up like this? Although there has been tension in the air lately, this is not the way to treat me. I couldn't understand why they suddenly started behaving this way. Despite my attempts to initiate conversation, being ignored made me feel like my heart was breaking. At that moment, I received a surprising phone call. One day, when I returned home from work, Mark and Natalie were having a serious discussion. First, Natalie made a statement mocking me, saying,
Mom is so simple-minded.
in a way that made me feel foolish. She continued smugly.
The ignoring strategy was a huge success. Just by us ignoring her, Mom stays quiet and does all the housework without saying anything extra. If there's such an easy way, we should have ignored her sooner.
Moreover, my husband agrees.
Besides, she earns our living expenses and has become a convenient housekeeper. She used to be quite lively, but lately she's been trying to please us and stopped nagging. She really came in handy.
From now on, I'll be a high school student and will need money, so she'll still have to earn for us. I'm young and I have a lot I want to do, so I can't be bothered with housework. Mom needs to work extra hard.
Absolutely. Our current lifestyle is comfortable and nice. Let's continue ignoring her like this. I mean, I originally married that woman out of a desire for household comfort. This kind of life suits her better.
My husband and daughter are chatting and laughing gleefully as they have such a conversation. Listening to their conversation, I reached my breaking point. I will never forgive them. I will drag both of them into hell. The next morning, after finishing all my preparations, I greeted Mark and Natalie. However, as usual, they ignored me. Natalie even went as far as scoffing at me. After they were gone, I packed my belongings and left the house. When I suddenly returned home, my family was surprised, but after hearing the circumstances, they said,
"You can stay as long as you need."
When my parents comforted me with words like, "It must have been tough," I felt like crying. I had thought they would blame me for what had happened, despite my desperate efforts to convince them to let me marry Mark. However, my parents understood my feelings better than anyone else. Then, a few days later, I was relaxing at my parents' house when I got a call from Mark. When I answered the phone in disgust, he suddenly started cursing at me.
"Where are you? Aren't you ashamed to be fooling around despite being a mother? It's about time you come back home."
After breaking his silence for the first time in a while, he starts yelling at me as if I'm the one at fault. I replied to Mark with wariness in my voice. "No thanks. I have no intention of changing. I'm divorcing you, Mark. I can't continue with you anymore."
Huh? What are you talking about, selfishly? Stop acting like a child just because I ignored you for a bit. I'll never agree to a divorce.
He seems to staunchly refuse divorce, perhaps because he doesn't want to let go of the housekeeper. However, with my next words, he froze. "No, I will definitely ask for a divorce. Because you're cheating, aren't you? I had received a phone call earlier. It was actually from the husband of Mark's affair partner. Mark's late returns weren't due to work, but because he was meeting with his affair partner. When he went out on holidays, he was actually going out to eat with his affair partner. Actually, when Natalie and Mark were talking together, I overheard such conversations.
Dad's affair partner is beautiful and pretty. It would have been better if she were Mom instead. Then I could brag about it to everyone in my class.
I think so too, but she's married, you know? Besides, I can't have her acting like a housekeeper. Her pretty hands would get rough. Housekeepers are meant for plain and simple women like your mom, Mary.
It seems my husband never even dreamt that I knew about his affair. I told the stunned Mark, delivering another blow. I will claim alimony from you. Oh, and I've sold that apartment. It's better for you to leave quickly. The apartment where we lived as a family was bought by my father before marriage and is in my name. So I arranged for movers to transport all the furniture I bought to the new apartment, which I purchased secretly. After leaving the house, I sold the apartment where we used to live and bought a new one for living alone. I did all of this secretly without telling my husband and daughter. Of course, I had permission from my father. If anything, I would say that my father was more enthusiastic than I was. By the way, I sent Mark and Natalie's belongings to his parents' house. I included a letter detailing the various circumstances just to be safe. However, even if they wanted to return to his parents' home, there would be no place for them. In addition to Mark's parents, his brother's family also lives there, and Mark doesn't get along well with his father. To make matters worse, he was cheating. It's clear that Mark will be estranged from his parents. Feeling cornered, he desperately begged for forgiveness over the phone, realizing his precarious situation.
I'm sorry. Natalie and I took advantage of your kindness. The temptation of infidelity was just a momentary lapse caused by frustration at work. I only love you, Mary. Please, forgive me.
Mark earnestly apologizes, but that's not something I inclined to believe. I've tried to be a real family with them. I was tough on Natalie because I was worried about her future. I argued with Mark because I wanted us as a couple to think about our daughter Natalie together. But they ignored and hurt me for stupid reasons like wanting an easy life and wanting to have their own way. I can't live with people like that anymore. You and Natalie don't want a family, do you? You just want a maid you can call whenever you need something done, right? I tried to become part of your family, but that's just terrible, isn't it? There's absolutely no way I could stay with people like you in the future.
That's not what I'm thinking at all. I really feel sorry. Natalie also says she wants to apologize to her mom.
I'm not going to tolerate a disrespectful daughter who mocks others. Didn't Natalie say she wanted a beautiful mom? I'm sure she would be happier to be a stranger with me. Don't involve me anymore. With that, I hung up the phone. A few days later, the divorce with Mark was finalized through a lawyer. I demanded alimony from him and his affair partner. The husband of the affair partner also demanded alimony from the two of them. Mark depleted his savings but still had to take out loans to repay the alimony for both of them. He and Natalie are now living in an old, cheap apartment after being evicted from their apartment. The affair partner borrowed money from her parents to pay the alimony and is now working at a relative's factory. I thought it was all over, but a few months later, surprisingly, I received a reconciliation request from Mark.
Hey, Mary. Please, give me another chance.
What's this all of a sudden? You and I are already divorced and strangers. Don't contact me out of the blue like this.
Please, don't say that. Natalie is in trouble right now.
According to Mark, it seems Natalie couldn't afford to attend the prestigious private high school due to his debts. Natalie reluctantly enrolled in a public high school. However, due to her selfish personality, she was disliked by the entire class and ended up isolated. It seems that now Natalie, feeling mistreated by her classmates, has become a shut-in and spends her days venting her frustrations. On top of that, with no one to do the chores, the room is getting dirtier and dirtier. It seems like they might get kicked out of the apartment they're living in due to the foul odor. Mark says that such a situation is Natalie's own fault. I won't go back to you. Don't ever contact me again. I decisively rejected any possibility of reconciliation and blocked Mark's number. Right now, I'm living peacefully with my parents while focusing on my job. Considering the troubles with my family, I'm not thinking about marriage for a while. For now, I just want to develop a better eye for men.